Adam and I are joined by Dave Fisher, lead singer of Dio Rising, a Las Vegas Dio tribute band. Dave touches on the Dio-Dreamers Never Die documentary, fills us in on his band and their future plans, and expresses why he thinks the metal community is accepting of everyone on this episode of Vegas Rocks, the podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Vegas Printing, graphic design, small and large format printing, direct mail services, web design, and more. Whether you're holding an open house, need supplies for your trade show booth, or opening a new business, Vegas Printing is your source for all your printing needs. Visit vegasprinting.com today. Hi guys, welcome to Vegas Rocks, the podcast. We're happy to welcome Dave Fisher from Dio Rising.
Oh, sorry, appropriately. That's what I needed.
There we go.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for your patience trying to iron out our technical issues.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
We have been delighted to be able to see you twice in the last few months.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I am not an authority on metal. And so I was a little nervous about you coming because I was like, oh, I don't know much. I don't know enough. But then I thought, who better to talk to than an authority
there's
on
no
some metal.
There's no such thing as not knowing too much. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this community is that we welcome everybody. Everybody, it's for everyone. It's for all comers. It doesn't matter what brought you here, but despite the scary outside, the way it looks to the outside world, it's the most loving, wonderful group of people in the world. So welcome aboard.
I love that.
Not knowing anything, that's fine. You'll learn what you need to and leave the rest.
Very accepting.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I just said for sure. I said I'm not going to say for sure.
That's okay.
Like 5 times.
If you get me saying it.
So your band, Dio Rising.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us about your bandmates.
Okay, well, we started in 2012, which was not too long after we lost Ronnie James Dio, late 2010, and that was kind of the catalyst. I hadn't performed in a long time. I had been in a band or two 10 years or so before when I was in college, and just hadn't played. I had pursued my career. I'd gone on to do something else. And just kind of thought, well, I'm thinking about getting back into music. Maybe this is the thing. I'm not going to write original music. That's not where I am right now. Let's do this. And nobody was doing it at the time. So we decided to do that. I found a like mind in our original drummer who was looking to do a Dio tribute. And so we said, let's see what we can do. Totally happened across the other members of the band and over the course of a few months. And a total happenstance in both cases. We just found them and they're the guys who are still with me today, and it's an amazing group of people who probably would not have even come back to performing. Oh. And we lost Ronnie's voice, a huge voice that it was, and so we just started honoring that music, and we've been doing it ever since. It's it's weird. I still think of us as outsiders to the music scene because we're all professionals doing our own thing, and I don't think we are anymore, but no. I mean, and the scene here, both the other musicians and the fans have been very welcoming. I mean, like I said, it's once you see, oh, you're one of us, then it's fine. And that was it. I mean, we all came to this music the same way and we all celebrate it. And hopefully we do it justice. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, that's what being in a tribute band's about for me is about honoring the songs and honoring the shared memories that we all have with them.
And what was your background? What led you to get into music, even when you were younger? I mean, did you play instruments, or did you always focus on singing?
I did play guitar badly for a number of years. Okay. I never had either the drive to put what I needed to into it, or probably the talent even. I just was not that great. I had sung before, but I don't know. I just at some point I realized that probably in the late 80s that when I was singing along with the radio or whatever, that it actually sounded good. And so maybe this particular type of music, I have a knack for actually singing. Yeah. So then it just, first band that I was in, I did some singing and in addition to my wonderful guitar work. And then it just happened, and that's how it began. I mean, I'd always been surrounded by music. That's always been a part of my life.
Okay.
And discovered the heavier stuff when I was probably early in high school,
Nice.
which would have been about 88, 89. Now I'm
Okay.
dating myself, but it's not like our audience doesn't know that.
No.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it happened.
And what kind of music did you guys play in
The original band?
Yeah.
It was I guess you would say classic heavy metal. I mean, it was
okay.
we were heavily influenced by Iron Maiden, which was the band that ruled my world. And
Yes.
probably to some degree still does.
Yes.
But always has. And so, with that, and of course, all the Dio stuff and, Queensryche, Halloween, that kind of stuff. That was what we were really into.
Nice.
And it morphed on. When I started working as a teacher, I left the project, and it actually a little bit later became an early funeral doom band, actually, and and who actually got signed and did a little bit back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Which I guess it's probably good that I stepped out at that time, because although I love that kind of music, it's not something I do well. So I left it to the ones, and they had a change of direction. It was great, but it was definitely the old school metal type stuff. I think the stuff I wrote was very Maiden-y, Priesty, that sort of thing. So
Gotcha.
that's what we did.
Gotcha. Okay. So we brought up the Dio documentary.
Dreamers Never Die.
Dreamers Never Die. What did you think about it? Did it? I mean, for me, I learned a lot from it because, I listened to Dio. I know a lot of the more popular songs, but I didn't know the details of, all the struggles that he went through. Do you think that did it justice? I mean,
I feel that it did. The biggest thing is that it was about an hour and a half movie, and you can't cover all of that material in it.
Yeah, 40, 50 years
yeah,
of material.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're talking about somebody who started performing in the mid-'50s.
Yes.
And, I mean, if you've had a chance to listen to anything he did before Rainbow, I mean, if we're talking about Elf, or if we're talking about all the way back to the doo-wop bands, I mean, Ronnie and the Redcaps, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing that this guy started when he was in his teens and did it until the moment he was no longer with us. I mean, it's nuts. It's a lot to cover, but I think it did it well. There's a thing or two that I think they could have covered in more detail, and I do kind of understand why you would make those decisions.
Yeah.
But no, I think they did a fairly good job. I just recently read the autobiography that came out, and it's in a very similar vein to that.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of the official story, I guess.
Yeah, learning that his dad made him play the trumpet for 3 hours every day. Oh,
Yes.
gosh.
That's
Can you
I could
imagine?
see that. I had heard about him playing trumpet before, and that's it's kind of astounding.
But I like what he said. He said his voice became his trumpet.
Well, it did. I
And
mean,
that was a great way to put it. Like,
actually, I'm kind of envious. I mean, as somebody who's been learning as I go how to control breath and do all the things that you need to do to preserve your voice, I'd imagine that was really good training, and I wish that I had something like that to fall back on.
Speaking of that, you might be the guy to ask this question. Some of the bands that we grew up with, that are performing now, a lot of the lead vocalists are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do something wrong? And when they were performing when they were younger, is there something they could have done?
do you mean struggling with their voice?
Yes. Yeah.
So not able to.
They're not
like
able
they
to
used
sing. Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think that's going to vary by the artist.
Just the person.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that there are certainly when, and we know this from our experience, that when you're younger, you think you can do anything, and
You're
you don't think
bulletproof.
the rules don't apply to you, and sure, what you should do, but you don't always do it.
Yeah.
I mean, as a guy who's approaching 50 and singing this music, I know that I have to do certain things. I mean, to the point that I'm almost a jerk with it. I can't drink this before a show. I can't eat this before a show. I can't, things like that. I have to make sure that I get enough sleep, and all the little things you don't think of. And when you're 25, you don't do that, especially if you're 25 and on the road and being provided with all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll you could possibly
drugs,
want. I'm sure that it's got to be hard. But then again, you look at, even look at Ronnie himself. I mean, I remember hearing him say multiple times, "I don't warm up." To me, I couldn't possibly do that. If I don't warm up, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
And I know there's no way. And he said, "No, I don't warm up. I mean, I'll just, I'll have a couple of beers before the show and go on stage."
Wow.
Okay. Well, what do us humans do, right?
Yeah.
But so that's part of it, I think. But I've heard others. I don't remember who it was. I don't want to falsely say who it was, but some singer in a big band. I remember him saying that his secret to his being able to hit the falsetto was Marlboro Lights. Oh. And I'm like, okay,
opposite of what you
okay, that's exactly not what you should be doing to your voice. But that's so I don't think there's any one answer for anybody. But I do think that as time goes on and you keep working it, it's like anything else. It gets better with time because you get muscle memory. Okay. But you also it's a muscle and you stress it out.
True.
And so I can certainly imagine that years on the road would do that to you.
Yeah.
I don't cast any aspersions on anybody who wants to do something to help themselves out. Some people get really uptight when people drop a key so that they can deliver the song like they didn't used to. And a lot of bands do that and you probably don't even notice all the time. Which is, that's fine. I mean, that's, if you, people who use teleprompters, people who use backing tracks, as long as they're not your lead vocal, then it's what you need to do it properly. I mean, you're there to deliver your performance. And so I don't have any problems with that.
We've heard some complaints about some of the people that do covers, here in town. Oh, well, they use a backing track for this. Well, yeah, there's 5 guys on stage, and you don't see a keyboard playing. They want to create the music, so
right.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, what do you want out of this? And I can't speak for everybody, but for us, it's been whatever we can create with the people we have on hand, and as close as possible to the original. Reverential, not necessarily. I'm not mimicking the voice.
No,
I don't think anybody else in the band is mimicking the performances of the people they do. They're just playing the songs properly with a little of their own flair, and that's what we're going for. I mean, and certainly some tribute bands try to be completely authentic and do it right.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but that's never been what we're about. And and we don't use backing tracks, but I don't have any problems when people are going to, I find it really funny, all the people saying, well, you shouldn't use a backing track. Okay, then you're also going to be the person who's complaining that you don't hear the 5-part harmony behind the lead vocal, or it just seems empty. Yeah, because there's no keyboard here or no third guitar or something.
Yeah.
Be careful what you complain about.
Exactly. They don't know all the secrets to making the show what it is.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, if I can't deliver it, I'm gonna not do that.
Yeah.
But that's a choice you've got to make. You got to figure out what you want to deliver and how to do it best.
Gotcha. Okay, so I got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
What is your favorite Dio song? And then, is it different from your favorite to sing?
Okay, I knew you were going there, and you would think that I would have prepared this. Wow. Okay.
Well, because I noticed when we saw you at Vamped, and again, I know the quote unquote popular Dio songs,
right? And
you brought out something. I don't even remember what it was.
I bet you I know.
And I'm going, wow. I got to look more into his catalog because there's a lot of stuff I missed,
Yeah.
So,
no, well, and that's how I was too. I mean, remember when we started this, it was just we were fans.
Yeah.
And so, we of course started off, I mean, obviously when you start a Dio cover band, you're going to have to play Rainbow in the Dark. You're going to have to play Holy Diver. We knew that from the start.
Yes.
There's a couple of Sabbath songs. If we did not do Heaven and Hell, we would have things thrown at us. And right now we can't imagine playing a show without it.
Yes.
But, but beyond that, I've discovered a lot of these things. And we're still discovering it. We have people ask us about, will you play this song? Well, yeah, but there's so many things to choose from. We haven't gotten around to that one yet, right? So let's see, favorite. Well, it changes.
Okay.
I mean, I would have said years and years and years ago, probably The Last in Line. I mean, it's a favorite, but it's an absolutely solid song that just does not get old.
Yeah.
I think some of the Sabbath stuff is among my favorites, though. The Heaven and Hell album, Heaven and Hell, Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, which we will get back around to soon, I'm sure. And some songs we haven't played yet. Hint, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one we've been toying with for a while. The fact that we now have a keyboard player in the band.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We might get there.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then the bassist is going to yell at me for saying that. Because, just play the world's hardest bass line for 4 minutes straight.
There you go.
But yeah, so there's that. But like you said, there's some that sneak up on you. Now, my favorites to do live are some of those more obscure ones.
Okay.
Because they're the one, and there's two songs I'm thinking of in particular that we always play. And we do that because of the way we play them and the energy we have together. And those songs are Evil Eyes and Kill the King.
Okay.
Kill the King especially. That one was, I mean, your hardcore Rainbow fans who are probably a few years older than me would have known that from the start. I came into that one late, and the first time I heard it, it absolutely blew me away. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Okay, I want to know more about this. And that was probably in the early days of this band, and then we started playing it soon after that. But the thing about those two songs is that the energy that the five of us have together, the vibe is the most strong on those songs, and we feel like we can accomplish anything. It's like if I'm struggling, having a long night, and I can't sing anymore, and I feel like I am just worthless.
Okay.
I get around to Evil Eyes at the end of the set, and that has some of the highest notes that I sing in the whole thing.
Okay.
And I can pull them off because there's just the energy, the fuel of going through that song.
Do you think the whole band realizes
something about that.
or is that something that you guys
we all feel.
mentioned?
I think we are all firing on all cylinders on those.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It is the five of us. I mean, if we have a situation where there's a substitute, it doesn't gel like that on those songs. And but those two just stick out to me as I look forward to them every night. And of course, they're among the hardest performances. I mean, Kill the King is up in the stratosphere and stays there.
Okay.
But I don't mind doing it because it's so damn fun. So those are probably my favorites live right now. But it'll change.
And would you consider that one of the harder songs for you to sing in his library?
Probably. I mean, it's weird because everybody approaches it differently. I struggle with some that probably others don't, and things that people have difficulty doing, I probably do more easily. It's I guess
Depends
my voice
on the
versus
person.
their voice, right?
True.
Or my complete lack of training against their formal training. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, I mean, well, and I'll be honest, I don't think there's that many easy Dio songs. And let me state, this is not just from me, the singer. This is everyone's parts are
From
not
a musician
simple.
standpoint
Yes.
too? Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if I did not have that blessed group of four guys with me that are just so perfect for this music, it wouldn't work.
Gotcha.
And it's not about me. I mean, it was, and I think Ronnie was very much like that too. It's, even though his name's on the project, it's about the band.
Mm-hmm.
And the five people we have just do this together very well. Individually, are we as good as, I don't know. I think we're better than the sum of our parts.
Yeah.
I think we're all very talented, but that sounds arrogant. But, they're all very talented, and I'm okay. But together it works. But together it works, right? And that's it. You just need the right dynamic.
Gotcha.
Well, let's talk about that blessed group.
Okay, let's do it.
You have, is it Massimo?
Massimo, yes. Massimo Provinciali, our guitar player, yes. Okay. Our lead guitar player. Been with us from the start.
I was browsing your website.
Mm-hmm.
He's an engineer of some
Yes,
sort?
that is correct.
Cool.
Yeah, we're all, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we're all professionals who started off doing something else. Three of us are in education. He is an engineer. And actually, it's funny because I mentioned, we didn't play music really for a while before this. And Massimo was no exception. He had played in some bands years ago. So yeah, he hadn't played in a while either. And of all things, I was going to see an early version of Dio Disciples, the one of the Dio bands, the official, with the people who were in the band, and standing at the top of the stairs at the Hard Rock, at the Hard Rock Cafe on the strip, and we're standing there waiting, and hear somebody in front of us talking about, I really want to get to playing again, but nobody's wanting to play this kind of music. And just this weird thing happened where I wasn't listening to somebody else's conversation, but I heard that and I'm going, I'm putting together a Dio band. Interesting. Let's keep talking. Excuse me, what do you play? Play guitar. What do you want to play? Dio. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Massimo. And that's honestly how we met. Wow. And really cool. A couple of weeks later, I found out that he was not just some average run-of-the-mill guitar player, that he could really throw down some amazing stuff. And I'm like, okay, we've got it now. And so, there was total accident.
That's crazy.
Total accident. So that's how we found each other. And, that was back in late 2012, early 2013, somewhere around there. So
gotcha.
Still with it now.
And your drummer is?
Yes, Jeremy Marinick. Yes, we call him the baby of the group because he's only been with us 9 years. Yes, Jeremy is a ridiculous percussion god. I mean, very versatile. He has drummed for just about everybody or played with just about everybody. Every style of music you could possibly imagine. I mean, there's nothing more humbling than watching your drummer from your tiny little band playing with the Who as a percussionist. That was kind of mind blowing. Mm-hmm. He's played with Andrea Bocelli, Ryan, our bass player, whom I'm sure we'll get to in a moment. Also has, it's like, just all of these ridiculous, all the touring shows, orchestra pits, anything, and just phenomenal player. And we're very privileged to have him. Just a great player. That was when the band just really clicked into high gears, finding that original four. And of course, we found our fifth later. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And Ryan is also a teacher.
Yes. That one almost as weird of a story as with Massimo. I didn't really know Ryan. We had worked in the same school as each other for a couple of years, and we're sitting in a staff development day way back then, when I'm still trying to find this, and we still didn't have a bass player. We had a couple false starts, nothing happened, and just for whatever reason, I'm not a social person. I don't do things like this. I see he's wearing an Anthrax shirt, and I'm like, well, okay, and I know he plays music. I'm like, so I'm putting together this Dio cover band. Do you know anybody who might be interested in playing bass? Because I was grasping at straws at that moment. And he just looks right back at me and says, yeah, me.
Nice.
That was that. And here we are. And that's how it all happened. Perfect. So then that was our original four. And then
the Jedi Master Chris
joined. We went for a number of years with as a four-piece, and I didn't love the keyboards in the music. I just didn't know that we needed them.
Yeah.
And we tried a couple people, and they were all great musicians. Just didn't mesh with the band. It didn't really work. And at one point, Ryan mentions, "What about Chris?" And Chris had been our boss for a couple of years, a while back, and assistant principal over us at the time, and. I'm thinking, I know he's a great musician. He plays this kind of music? Okay, sure, just that, we'll have him in. And, within 10 minutes, we knew that was the guy. And, of course, then, he turned out being an amazing guitar player, an amazing keyboard player. He's filled in on bass for us. I mean, you name it. And he can do anything. He's a very serious jazz musician in this town and phenomenal with what he does. So, it's insane, because these are five people who should not be together, who should not be meddling around in this world, and yet when we do, it works. So,
you had mentioned that you don't have any formal training. Do any of the other guys have any formal?
I can't really speak for them because I don't honestly know. I do know Ryan and Jeremy definitely are both coming from the classical music world with lots of training, and they've got all that. Chris, I would imagine, does as well. I would say the wild card is probably Massimo, because I don't know if he has or not. But I assume he's like I am, which is that combination of self-taught and then a lot of hard study, where you just know what you want. And most guitar players, I think, are like that. Guitar players and singers, we tend to be, I want to be that guy, and so what do I need to do that?
Yeah,
and I'll take my skill set and move toward that.
That makes sense.
And so I have a suspicion that's what he's done. If Maz, I'm sorry if that's not real, but I have a feeling that's probably it. So, I mean, that's what it was with me. I mean, I sung in like school choruses and stuff, and but never really worked it as an instrument. And then what you do as a singer and what you do as a metal front person are quite different.
Yeah, and it takes a lot. I mean, I've always said that there's a difference between a lead singer and a front man. You do an amazing job. I mean,
Thank you.
You guide the crowd. You get them going. If you see any lull or anything like that, you really know how to keep the crowd going. So
Connect, like a connection.
That's
right?
the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Well, that's key. I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, this music means something special to probably everybody in that room.
Yeah.
And it may be different, but we all have that common access point. And if I can get them to connect with that and just live in the moment, have a good time. We live in uncertain times. We always have. I mean, that's no different than ever. But if we can just have that moment and all realize that we're here enjoying this for the sake of enjoying it, that we may not know each other, we may not even agree with each other or whatever, but we have this common thing that holds us together that we can both appreciate. Let's live in that moment. Let's enjoy that. And that's what I try to do. I mean, that's what I think the job of a front person is.
Yeah.
Is to, go beyond just standing up there like a wooden figure singing the songs note perfect. I mean, I'll miss some notes, but if I miss some notes, then I'm going to also give you the right, give you a show. And that's the idea. We're all humans.
The biggest part of it. I mean, I can foresee it too. If a person can be the most amazing vocalist, but like you said, if they're standing there stiff as a board and they're not doing anything, everyone's going to feel that. So.
Well, you also have the opposite too. You have the one who tries too hard and tries to do everything, and you don't. That's what I try to control. The hardest thing for me is maybe you shouldn't move around so much. It's. I guess that's my little bit of theater training from back in the day that comes back, where I'm like, there's got to be a purpose for everywhere you go on stage. No, well, yeah, there is, but then the music takes you and whoops. Yeah, okay, exactly.
I know, but for someone in the crowd watching you do that, and to see how it just takes you over, that's the plus for us to watch that. Like, to see you loving what you do and you enjoying yourself makes someone like me, who's not 100% obviously familiar with Dio and his whole history, that's what soaked me in. Like, that's what I was like, okay, this, like, I'm on.
Well, right, we want to. I mean, and that's the nice thing about doing an artist like this, is that if we do some of the the ones that there's 1,000 tribute bands for, your Kisses, your Iron Maidens, your stuff like that, that generally that audience knows exactly what they're getting in for.
Yeah.
But we're going to get people who don't know Ronnie James Dio, or maybe when they sit down and hear us, they catch a song or two they've heard before, but that's all they know.
Exactly.
And that's perfectly okay. I mean, I've had people who didn't even know we were a cover band talk to us afterwards, who just happened to be where we were playing and thought they were original songs. I'm like, well, that's very gracious of you, but I didn't write that. But that's the thing. But that's kind of what our job is to, the music is what we're there for. So if we can make that connect with people it's new to and people that grew up with it, or we can access those memories of the people who have them.
Yeah.
But maybe we're making new memories with other people. I mean, it's that, like I kind of said earlier, it's we all come to this kind of music from wherever we are, and it could be unintentional, but we're there. And when we get there, we want to have a good experience, and so that's what we're hoping for. So whatever your exposure is.
Yeah, and I am so thankful that you guys do what you do, because
we are too. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like Dio himself not being around anymore, we will never get a chance to see him again. Some of the other people that do multiple covers. You get a little bit of everything, in one show. And again, maybe some of the people that they're covering just can't do the job they used to. They're a lot more younger kids that, have the energy. So you can kind of feel like what it was 30 years ago, when the original bands were playing. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Well, and thank you. And you're right. You do get some of those who have never had the chance. As we get older, everybody who ages goes through this. We realize that we don't really remember how long ago some of this was. And, to me, we lost Ronnie almost 13 years ago now.
I know.
And, that is, I was very privileged to see him not long before that. The last American tour that he was on with Heaven and Hell. But, how many people haven't had that opportunity? And so you take up basically anybody who is 20, 25 years old, not a chance that they've seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a few younger folks at our shows, and I know they've never had that opportunity. And so that's a really cool idea. I mean, it's daunting to take on the mantle of such a giant, but people have said we do it okay.
So you picked a doozy.
Well, that's true. But you see, that's the one thing. That's the common trait I've noticed with singers.
Yeah,
is that we're sadists. Sadists, masochists, whichever one's appropriate. I always get them confused, but we're both. And because you ask us if singers ran these bands. I mean, like I think of all the regular cover bands I've been in. We go in and we're like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do some Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Dio and Queensryche and Halloween, and I'm like, where are you going to get the breath for this? Where are you going to get this? Is the hardest stuff I could pick.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go out there and say, well, I love Motorhead. I don't really want to go out and sing Lemmy. God rest his soul. I don't care about that so much. I just I want to sing the stuff that's a challenge. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't pull it off, but most of the time I do, so that's okay.
When you were talking about younger people, I was telling her a couple days ago, there's a gentleman that's working on one of my off-road vehicles that I have, and he was born in 93.
Staggering when you see that, and you see these full-on adults who were born when you were an adult.
And I'm going, okay, you're making me old.
I have former students who are in their 40s now. I know. Yeah.
I told him, oh man, you're making me feel old. I graduated in 90, and he was telling me a story about he had just moved into this house that he's at right now, and he was saying that his neighbors were complaining because his music was too loud. And he says, I don't really like the modern stuff. I like more the classic rock of like the late 80s and the 90s. I'm going, oh my God. Classic rock to me was 70s.
Oh, no. Classic rock ended somewhere around, like early Aerosmith or something for us.
Yes.
But no, I remember the first time that I heard Def Leppard referred to as classic rock. Mm-hmm. I wanted to throw something at somebody. But then 10 years later, I heard Nirvana referred to as classic rock. And
there you go.
But they're not wrong, and it's frightening. I mean, just seeing the labels change like that.
True.
But oh man, it's funny you mentioned that his neighbors are complaining about the music. A funny little story on the aside. Here I am in my late 40s, and I've never had the cops called on a band that I was playing in for rehearsing too loud. Until a couple of years ago, and it was not in Rising. This was in another project I was working on at the time, and it was just hilarious because here we are, all these musicians in our 40s and 50s, and just like teenagers, that knock on the door comes and we're like, man, and then I started thinking, it's the first time this has ever happened to you.
Cool,
That's so cool.
I'm so metal.
You guys are so metal.
Well, the most metal thing that happened was that the drummer asks the officer, but how does it sound? that was the best thing I've ever seen. Like, I wish I had the guts to say that. And it was great, but, and I guess, we had the wisdom to deal with it like proper adults. And everything was fine. But that was just so funny. I couldn't believe that. I mean, here I lived through all my teenage years not having done all that stuff, and what am I making up for it now?
Yep.
But that's okay. I don't mind. Something's got to keep you young.
The same thing, living vicariously.
Something has to keep you young. You might as well make it some of the good stuff.
True. You brought up Nirvana.
Yes.
What was your opinion, or what is your opinion of the end of hair metal, the beginning of grunge?
Okay, that's a great question. I do think in some ways it was responsible. The onset of grunge would have been responsible for the fall of hair metal, but I think the biggest thing that broke hair metal was that it got so excessive and it got to be a parody of itself, and the record companies ran it. I mean, honestly, the record companies put out a bunch of crap.
That's a good point, that it became a parody of itself.
Right. I mean, and this is coming from somebody who, I was first really getting into this music about 88, 89, so that was when it was about starting to happen.
Yeah.
And you started seeing, and the thing is, I can tell now, because if I listen back to, and I mean, I don't really always use the term hair metal, but I mean, if I listen to those glam bands of that time, and that I listened to then, I realized some of them really hold up. Some of them are just as fresh now as they've ever been, and then some of them, you're like, this was just second-rate garbage, and it was okay at the time. We just didn't know.
It was kind of like the 80s version of the boy band.
Right.
Make them pretty. They don't have to be that talented.
Right. Except it became more about the looks. And, I mean, that's always annoyed me. I mean, that's.
And I think they brought that up in the documentary, too.
Mm-hmm.
How,
oh, yeah.
And Dio was never like that, so.
Yes and no. I mean, if you look hard enough about the Dream Evil era, there's some stage costumes that you'd have to pay me a whole lot of money to repeat. They never did it as much as the others. And, the big thing is I see that people villainize grunge for that. It's not their fault. They didn't do that. They played the music that was honest to them. It shared some heavy ancestors with the music we liked.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the time, I liked Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all those bands. I mean, they weren't my main thing, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I hear that stuff. It's good for what it is, and it's it's not my main thing, but it's good.
That's a good way to look at it.
I'm very big into not villainizing everybody. You like what you like, and if that's not for you, great, tune it out. And that's not for you, and let somebody else enjoy it.
They basically invented a new genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have been inspired by something. They had to have. There had to have been music they had loved.
Right.
That was nothing like that still inspired them.
I feel like we all listened to Black Sabbath and we all listened to some punk, and we just took it in different directions. Mm-hmm. We took it this way, they took it that way.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So yeah, I mean that's I mean I've done I'm an academic, I'm a geek. I've done some low level research on this stuff, and it seems like there's a lot of common ancestors. There's a lot of things that it's just different people interpreting the same sorts of things in different ways.
Okay.
But I mean, and like I said, I've never been a fan of villainizing other people. If if there's something I don't like, then don't listen to it. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's some stuff that I love that you'd probably be shocked that is, but that's that's it. It's what we like.
Yeah. For me, I am not a country music fan.
And you see, I grew up with some of that. And I mean, honestly, and it's funny because I recall having a really intense conversation with some of my, bandmates from another project.
Yeah.
And just out of nowhere, we started talking about like Barbara Mandrell. And I'm like, where did this come from? And why do we both know this? But we both did. And it's the weirdest thing. But, I had something brilliant to say, and I just totally lost where I was going. That's the thing about this age. No, but
it's called part-timers.
I'm telling you, yeah. Now I know what it was.
Okay.
Another singer from a band around here who we'd played with many times said something to me about my vibrato on my voice. And, that's never something I consciously thought about, really, what it was, where it came from. It's just the way I sing.
Okay.
And then when I started thinking about it, I said, you know where it comes from, don't you? And he's like, no, I have no idea. That is 100% Kenny Rogers. It is not, and I mean, as much as, Jeff Tate, Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, Ronnie James Dio had to do with my voice.
Yeah.
Being a young kid listening to Kenny Rogers with my family probably influenced that, because that's where the comes from. That's where and it's just, that's how I sing.
Wow.
And it's astounding, but it somehow fits with what I do.
Gotcha.
We've all got different corners to the story.
True.
And yes, there's plenty of country that I do hate as well. But just, it depends on the era.
Anything 70s country, love it.
You see, that's the thing. Up until there's a point where I draw a line. Absolutely.
I mean, like Leonard Skinner, that's about as country as I ever want to get.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But and it's all about where you were when you encountered it. And that's some of what I grew up with. So that's a part of me.
And she grew up with it. I never grew up with it. My parents listened to the disco. And then it went into soft rock. When I was a little kid.
Oh,
so
well, I mean, and those things stick with us. I mean, even like you look at a band like Ghost. There's a band that when I first listened to them, I heard Merciful Fate. I heard the Beatles. I heard like a little different stuff, and then now they've kind of turned into ABBA, but they do that really well. And I'm okay, it's like it's weird because you mentioned disco. I'm like, I hear some disco elements in this metal band. Okay, and I know they're very polarizing. I know there are a bunch of people like, again, whatever you like, but it works for them, and
that's
it's strange.
one band though that I was almost scared to listen to, because I was like,
oh, that's another one.
Like, what are they talking about being the clergy? And these guys sound strange. And then I listened to it, and I was like, I told him, I was like, you have to listen to these guys. It's beautiful music.
The imagery really of that band does not match.
It does not match.
I don't think. I mean, I think it works very well, and they're geniuses.
Yes.
But I
quite enjoy them. Like, that's something that I thought you should give them a chance.
Yeah. I think the best way I ever heard them described was somebody, and I don't remember where I heard this, but they said that they were kind of like a cross between Blue Oyster Cult and Merciful Fate, with a little bit of the Beatles and a whole lot of Satan.
Oh.
And it really is, because it's kind of like, this is, not the music where the Dark Lord should be showing up so much, but okay, cool, all right. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to fit, but it does. So
I will be busting out Ronnie Millsap and Conway Twitty.
Oh, Millsap is a god.
See?
Oh, thank you.
That's what earbuds are for.
It's on vinyl. We're going to listen to it. Millsap on vinyl is even better.
It's time to have some daydreams about night things in the middle of the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still one of the greatest lyrics in the history of ever.
Yeah.
Now I have country songs going through my
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to derail the conversation with that.
So when you guys decide you want to do a new song, what's the process, and how long does that take you, or does it depend on the song?
Well, it depends on the song. It depends on other things too. I mean, we don't do it as often anymore.
Yeah.
And of course, now I think we have an opportunity. We're going to probably bring in some new stuff.
Okay.
Just because since we're relearning most everything that we forgot when the world stopped. But it does vary, and it kind of varies, I think, just based on where we are or how often we've been playing together during a given period of time. The difficulty of the song matters. There's that one song I mentioned before, which. Yeah. I won't say which one it is, but it was a single that we don't yet play off of the Heaven and Hell album. But that one's been banging around for years, and eventually we'll get to it. And I think it's just, when we can put the time into it to do it right. Okay. It has to be done right. We're not going to do anything halfway.
And what is that timeline? I mean, not down to the minute, but does it take weeks, months?
Well, I mean, we're not a band that rehearses all the time regularly on the same schedule. I mean, we certainly rehearse regularly to get back together as a group before a show.
Yes.
Before this last series of shows, we were playing together most weeks, so once a week usually, in pretty thorough rehearsals. So if we were to introduce a new song, then it would take about, I'd say, usually if we practice every week, it's probably about a month's worth of rehearsals to get it passable. and then another 2 or 3 weeks at least to polish it and make it feel right. Like, for example, we brought in Mystery for this last couple of shows, which was a song we thought about and hadn't really done it. And actually, that was the whole reason that happened was when Massimo and I first got together after the pandemic to kind of brush off the dust.
Yeah.
We, for some reason, ended up playing Mystery and Hungry for Heaven, and we had never played either of those songs.
Okay.
And so we said, okay, well, let's think about those, and we worked both of them, and it was just a matter of Mystery got ready in time, and it fit the rest of the songs we were doing for that set, so we put that one in. Hungry might still be hanging out there. We'll probably work it a little more. I think it probably for that one a couple more rehearsals if we want to throw it in. There's one of the later Sabbath songs that we have a little bit more work to do on, and I think we'll have that sounding to where we want to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard to pick which ones because sometimes people say, well, we'd love to hear you play this, and we take some. We have a poll up on our website, but I haven't had a lot of traffic on that because I don't know even who goes to the websites anymore. Unless you have a purpose to be there.
True.
You obviously had a reason to be there. Thank you. But we're interested in what people want to hear. But then there's also you think of the dynamics of creating a set. We have usually about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes a little less, to tell the story we want to tell.
Yes.
And we have to do certain songs, and we want a mix of things. We want to balance. You have to think about things like we can't do all up tempo, we can't do all low. All these slow prodding songs. You have to mix them up. If there's ballads involved, you don't do all of them. You do little bits and pieces, and you mix them up, right? And then you think about things like we think about tunings, so we don't have them like changing guitars every song. Stuff like that. And so you just try to find what works, and so you try to find the right spot for it, and we kind of have these little puzzle pieces we can stick in where we want. We think about it. We only have like a handful of opening songs and stuff like that.
True. Yeah, because I've seen that with other bands where they sing a real popular song that's high energy, and then they drop the mood with something so slow. I'm like, oh no.
Case in point, two songs that we would love to do that are among our most requested, and probably our most requested songs that we haven't played: "Sign of the Southern Cross" from Black Sabbath and "Stargazer." Rainbow.
Okay.
Both phenomenal songs. Stargazer's 9.5 minutes long. Now, it is probably the iconic, this, when you think of the band Rainbow, that's the song.
Yeah.
You think of the best thing Ronnie ever put on record with his voice, probably that song. Cozy Powell's ridiculous drum work. Yeah, it's all there. You want that. It's a 9-minute song. We've got an hour to tell the story. If we do that, why didn't you play Heaven and Hell? Why didn't you do this?
That makes sense.
And not only that, I love that song, but there are some points where it's, it's very artsy. And I was very into prog rock at a certain time in my life. But, sometimes the proggish stuff that you like as a musician and you love as a musician and it challenges you, that's when people decide they need to go to the bathroom during your show. Or go to the bar. And we're there to entertain them, and we got to keep them going. So, Sign of the Southern Cross is a phenomenal song. But I have a feeling when we finally do something with it, we're going to take a part of it and mix it into something like a medley or something.
A medley of some sort.
It's just because it's slow and doomy and brooding. It's fantastic, but there's going to be some people who've never heard Dio before who are going to be going, "What the hell is this?" So that's so it's a tough select. And then sometimes you do the ones that, oh man, I just want to play that. That's so fun, and you realize that you don't share that with the audience. We have a song or two that we've done a time or two, and we're like, that's a great idea. Let's not do it again. Yeah.
The other thing that truly amazed me out watching that documentary is Dio's perseverance. I mean, watching that and see him getting screwed over and screwed over and screwed over, I'm going, oh my God. And as they said in the documentary, he has the love of the music. And, it really shows. I could not believe. I mean, it does. I don't think there's anything right now in my life that I could get knocked down over and over again. I'm like, okay, I still want to do this.
There's a point where you stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was that point? He never had that. So
right, and that's another reason that I'm very resistant to taking sides in this. Well, first of all, I have no personal interest in it. It's not about me.
Yeah.
But in the maybe you say ongoing thing between Ronnie and the family and Vivian Campbell.
Yeah.
Which, is certainly a thing that could have been covered a little more in that documentary. I mean, I think we all would have liked to have seen it. I think we also all realize there's probably reasons they left that out. And quite frankly, there's not a lot else they should have left out. Everything was there and worked.
Yeah.
And it was a better story told that way. But with but I'm not going to take sides on that because you're absolutely right. He got kicked down so much that if you had the negative experiences with the music industry, which I think a lot of people did, if you had those experiences, you'd probably be guarded in what you did. You'd probably be very careful about things. You'd probably trust people a little less. And I could certainly see both sides of it from those guys. I can see that they're probably... It seems to me like, as an outsider, like a situation where you've got two people who are probably both 100% correct.
Yeah.
They're probably right. You don't have somebody who's wrong here. It's just and then you add to it the heat of being together for so long. I mean, I've never been in a band that's had to tour, but I mean, I love those four guys, but if I had to live with them every minute, they'd probably hate me and I'd hate them. I mean, that's natural.
That's natural.
And every little thing would get on your nerves. It's, and I can only imagine that you do that, and then you add in that some of them were very young and some of them were very experienced and thought they knew the voice of experience, and then you probably got lots of drugs and things going around, and it's like, I can see how that could have gotten out of hand pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so why don't we just say, that's in the past. But you're right. I mean, perseverance. Do I have anything I would just fight that hard for? I mean, other than my loved ones, no.
Yeah.
Other than my family, I don't think I would fight for anybody or anything that hard. And I'm sorry if I keep squeaking your chair. That's the wonderful thing about leather boots.
Leather boots.
Yeah.
Leather boots and leather chairs.
These are fake leather, but...
I believe these are too. But yeah, I've had them so long, I honestly don't remember, but I think so.
So what's the future look like for Dio Rising?
Just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, these recent shows have really reinvigorated us. I think they have helped us in showing that the people who were there for us before the pandemic are still around. Nice. They're still hungry for what we do.
Yeah. We
have some very loyal fans. And the thing is, I find that really hard to even say out loud that, anything I do has fans. But yeah, we kind of do. And they're great people. Yeah. And they love what we do, and they follow us, and it's fantastic. And we're gaining new people. I think that, I believe you said the first time you saw us was the Soul Belly show,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, so that was, our first show back, or our first full-size show back. And yeah, we're thrilled to be playing the stuff. We love it. We're re-energized. I'm really interested in playing with the big group dynamic. I mean, we only got to play a couple shows with Chris before everything happened. And so we're still kind of playing with our new toy, in that we have, somebody who can play the keys, who can play the backing guitar parts we've never had before, and who also can just start to shred for no apparent reason when we need it. And so I can't wait to see what we do with it. I guess it's too many good choices, and that's the thing. But we're out there. We're always looking for bookings. I'll be shameless about it. If you are in charge of booking any venue, we're here. Absolutely. We're very easy to find. LasVegasDio.com. And we even do private events. And actually, we have some of that coming up, which I found very interesting. I can't wait to see how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Keep you posted on that. But,
do you guys do any traveling? Would you consider
We
that?
have considered it. We've not done it yet. We are talking about that now. The more that we talk with some of these California bands that come out here, we're kind of realizing that there is a place for it. Obviously with us all working day jobs, it's a little difficult.
Yeah.
To do anything extended, but we're also fortunate to live in Vegas, where it's a day's drive, easy.
Yep.
I mean, we played one show in Utah a few years ago, which was unfortunate that we had to reschedule it, and ended up with a not wonderful experience with that. I mean, the venue people and the people who did show up were great, but it was just one of those. but that was our one extent of travel. We played Cedar City once.
Nice.
But no, I'd absolutely love to get out. I've been thinking that probably the California circuit and maybe a few other things, but do a couple shows on a weekend and come back and do your thing.
Yeah. It's funny. Sherry and I, we were there. My aunt lives in Irvine.
Okay.
We took my mom to visit her sister, and they're doing sister stuff, talking, and we're like, okay, well, what are we going to do? So she gets on the phone, she gets on Facebook, starts looking at events. We found this venue called Stages.
Okay. Actually, I think that's one of the ones I've heard of, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool, yeah.
The best idea, because they had, 5 bands or something like that that night?
I think it was 5 bands that night.
But they have 2 separate stages. So
Okay.
while one's playing, the other one can set up. There was no downtime. All we did was turn 90
Turned our
degrees.
bodies a little bit. There's a
and
band there.
It's like a festival, but in a small bar.
Exactly.
That's
It was
awesome.
great,
Oh,
yeah.
that sounds great.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And I mean, I've been to Southern California a whole bunch of times, but this was kind of weird. We bring it up on Google, and are we in the right place? We were in an industrial park, and I mean, it's a pizza joint and this bar.
Hopefully they've got a venue sign up now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know where we were
'cause
going, but
it said a pizza, a pizza name on the outside. We start talking to the people, and that's the Stages. Okay.
Okay.
So,
I remember a few venues home in Virginia that were like that, and actually we played at one out here that was a little bizarre at one point. We did a few shows back when Babes, the strip club, decided to have a rock bar as well.
Oh.
And it was the weirdest thing that you'd walk into the front door and it's strip club to the left, rock club to the right. And so, you go in, you choose which way you're going. And I don't know how many people knew it was out there. I mean, we got decent amount of people to show up at the shows, but it was just the strangest setup. It's almost like I didn't know that there were that many strip club rock club combos out there.
Yeah.
This is just weird, and it was great. The management was great. The crowds were good. It was a fun place to play, but that's weird.
Yep.
So yeah, that's strange. But no, the California shows, we'd love to get out there and do that. The biggest problem is that when you do a band like this, is that you kind of tend to self promote. We don't work for big promotion agencies. I mean, we do have a couple of people who will book for us and who do that, but they have multiple clients, and so and that's nice. And we just started recently with another that actually has a pretty decent outreach. But again, that's people have to be looking for it.
True.
There has to be a market for it. So we'll get calls from the people who want this sort of thing, and so that's fine with us.
Okay.
It's just hard to cold call. I'm not gonna take a month and go out to SoCal and start going to, excuse me, do you need a Dio band? I mean, I'd love to do that. If I had infinite time, sure, I'd do that.
Yeah.
If I was younger, I'd do that. but so hopefully so.
Good. Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for us.
thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're an
I
amazing
really appreciate
guest.
it. Thank you.
We'll have all of his social network linked in the bio for the YouTube video. You said Dio Rising? No. Dio.
Las Vegas Dio.
LasVegasDio.com.
LasVegasDio.com. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I am contractually obligated to do this for the camera one time at least. You can't be in a Dio band without practicing your horns. And so, yes, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure.
All righty.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I love it. That's perfect.
Bye-bye.
Come on, how we feeling? It's a good night for some heavy metal. It's a good night to take a trip. We're gonna go a long way with you. Heaven and hell. If you know it, please sing with me. I'm sure I want to hear your beautiful voices. Come on now. It's your turn. How song join you again? those of you Dio fans gotta know what's coming up next. I hope you do at least. 'Cause there's a big black shape looking up at me. Yeah. It says I know where you ought to be. He says come with me, I'll give you time. First, you got to burn, burn. People, come on, let's do it.
Vegas Rocks the podcast is hosted by Adam and Sherry Martin Del Campo. This has been a Total Design Studios LLC production.